new proposed ordinance, which there are copies on the table here for those in person. For those of you online, we will screen share, but if you wanted to look at a copy of the ordinance as we go through the public hearing, Carrie has very helpfully put it on as it's available for download on the front page of the town website. So feel free to take a look at it there if you don't already have a copy in front of you. What we have right now is the draft ordinance language and map. We have the map, which is attachment C, had preliminary discussions about what parking fees should be for this kind of new long-term parking, but we don't have anything drafted for discussion. Happy to answer questions, happy to take questions, happy to have discussion to inform that work, but I did just kind of want to acknowledge that is why there is no language there, and I'm hoping that our meeting tonight can really help us clarify things to make it as clear and easy to follow and manage as possible if we end up adopting this ordinance. The last thing that I would say is just kind of process-wise, parking ordinances do not require a town meeting vote. They are unique in that they just require select board adoption. So this is our first public hearing. If there are substantive changes or things, obviously we'd come back for a second public hearing, but this would be a discussion and vote at a future select board meeting, most likely. Anything else that you'd like to jump in?
Three other points. Number one, as part of this proposal is the erection of a guardrail along the south side of right of way that is protecting Taylor Watt's property from encroachment, which has been a continuing problem for him. We also have proposed to him that we will do some landscaping next to the guardrail to shield his property from. And so far, I'm happy to report that my discussions with Taylor Watts have been extremely cordial, and I think he's supportive of all of what we're proposing. There's one other aspect to this, which is not dependent on the parking ordinance or anything else. I heard from Fred and Merck that there was concern about the parking along the guardrail, which is hemmed in when there's a line 3 in the ferry line. It doesn't seem to me, in my ignorance, that that is a huge problem, but it was brought up as a problem. So I had suggested, independent of the ordinance and the parking scheme, that we remove the overnight parking next to ferry line and use that for line 3, so that we would alleviate the conflict with the parking along the guardrail. I heard very strong objections to that from Kathleen, who is in charge of loading the ferry, and we'll just drop that idea if it's unpopular. It's not contingent on anything else. The only other thing I would just like to add is that the reason why there is such demand for parking along Ferry Road is because there isn't adequate space on the ferry for people, workforce people to come over, and so they walk onto the ferry. Typically, there are over 100 walk-on passengers on the ferry on the first ferry of the day, and they need a place to park their trucks so that they can get then to the job site. And that is also clear that whatever cost that is incurred by these people who are workers going to job sites, they're passing their expenses on to whoever their clients are. So it seems to me that a modest fee attached to parking, which would mirror something like the fee that's charged in Lincolnville for parking, as long as Fred Porter is willing to administer this and police it, it seems like it's some revenue to the town and in the cost of doing business on this island, because if we have a seasonal pass and workers are coming across every 5 days a week for 3 months, whatever we're charging is not going to even show up on my expense account. It's so small.
But that, excuse me, that takes care of the way I interpret it, takes care of the contractors, the people that own the company, what it will give the money for their 10 workmen or whatever
Right.
it is. But where does that leave the independent contractor?
Okay, so.
Costs enough to come over here without.
Okay, so I think the question of exactly how to price this and how to enforce it, we were talking earlier about people who just leave their vehicles there. All that this is really proposing at the moment is that there's some fee attached, with the understanding that there would probably be exemptions for campers on Warren Island, for island residents.
No.
No. At any rate, I think that how it is actually administered and who pays what is still very much being discussed.
I would just, in lieu of piggyback on that, is that not all of those costs would be passed on to the homeowners, you know, who people are working for. And just keep in mind too, that a lot of those people are paying $450 to park their car in Lincolnville, and they're going to pay $450 to park their car here. Just keep that in mind when driving to that fee. And does the town do like the state and sell X number of tickets when there's only Y number of parking spaces?
Right.
Or are you gonna limit, you know, how would that work?
I would say, well, like, we currently do that in a way, we have parking passes and oftentimes there's not parking spaces available, so. I would say to date, I have not heard any discussion about having these be kind of assigned designated spots. I think one of the things that I'm thinking about as far as fees go is, simplification for how the town staff administer it. How can we simplify the number of parking passes and tiers that we have? Because right now there are already a couple of different tiers, so let's try to make it as simple as possible, recognizing that this will be a cost. There will be some cost associated with it making this parking happen, and we want to cover that. But we also, I hear the concerns on large expenses. Go ahead.
I'm about to
Yeah.
make it more complicated,
Yep.
sorry. All right, suppose you have someone that's gonna be away for a week or 10 days, or is in the hospital, or is going, I don't know, goodness knows where, and they wanna leave their car for a couple of nights or a week. Are you gonna have that short-term parking like the airport as opposed to long-term parking?
Well, I'd just like to say that at the moment, in the town administered existing parking, that isn't an option. There's only overnight parking.
No, that's not entirely true.
Now,
There is multi-overnight parking Holly's nodding, so I feel confident that I can continue talking. Thank you, Holly. In the spots between the ferry terminal
And the guardrail.
and the guardrail.
In the long
Yeah.
guardrails.
And I think, part of this is acknowledgement that, there is a tremendous amount of pressure on existing parking. And to some degree, I would imagine that it's a build it, we can build it and the demand will fill.
Yeah.
And, you know, so we wanna be careful not to pave paradise here. But do what we can to improve, what is, you know, really starting to become an unsafe situation with people kind of parking willy-nilly on Ferry Road. And and we wanna make sure that that is respectful to adjacent landowners as well on Ferry Road.
I mean, the worst part is, I think, from my perspective, living right there, is that you have cars parked where there's clearly no parking signs that people just ignore. And it's now even beyond just to Peter, you mentioned in number 2, the spots along the guardrail. I assume those are the spots that are on the wetlands, right, where line 3 is parallels it. So you're not suggesting doing away with those?
No, that would be part of this permitting process.
Okay, so those would be now inclusive in the,
At the moment, as you know,
people just
people
park there
park there for free.
and leave their cars for
Right,
sometimes weeks,
right.
which is not bad unless they're like derelict vehicles and not even registered, which is definitely happening. So I definitely think that this is going in the right direction. I'd be interesting to see. One of my concerns is that people will continue to move north. Once you designate those as permit parking spaces, that people are going to just move up the road, even closer to my driveway and right across from Gillies and all the other properties right there. And that is a huge concern. So I mean, I'll go back, and Peter, you know where I am on this whole thing too. I love the fact that Watts is now having, viable discussions with you, Peter, about lowering the cost that he's offering. But to me, I still hold true that purchasing that property, the town purchasing that property at a good price and turning it into an additional parking area, but a park with parking would be a long-term plan. And then it would be, not only would it be an incredibly welcoming site to the island instead of just a used car lot, but you could turn it into a dog park. I mean, all of those things could be done without having any concerns about the flood.
Number one, I assured you and I said that we are still definitely negotiating with Mr. Voss. But to your point about people parking further north on Berry Road, if we built a parking area on the Watts property and requiring it, we'd still have that problem.
Well, you have a lot more spaces, I think, and you could potentially lease long-term to corporations that are, constantly doing work on the island, or you could actually, you could get a much more, you could get a guaranteed spot, you could have much higher pricing, and the contractors will definitely pay for it.
Yeah, well, I think to Virginia's point, we have to fine tune where there are spaces that are available for elderly residents who have emergency trips to the hospital to take pull something out of the air. But I think that that whole question of how did we got a plan developed for more parking spaces on the Watts property. But the price tag at the moment is just exorbitant.
That's crazy.
What is it?
Well, it was $750, but I think.
But that's just for buying the property, but
Right.
then there's another, $500,000
You gotta put it over there.
developing the road and the parking
Yeah.
area and so on. And I just felt it was premature to go that route.
Can we create a 401 that he can donate to?
Yeah, right, yeah.
And just one other, not insurmountable hurdle beyond the hundreds of thousands of dollars, but there is currently covenants on that property that would allow it only to be developed for single family housing, so that can be changed with agreement from all of the existing subdivision owners. But I just wanna put that out there that as if we come up with a plan, that it would require additional work to ensure it was possible.
Exactly.
Yeah, go ahead.
I know them quite well.
So how much encroachment of that wetland will you have to do? Is it, so normally a parking space is 20 feet. And I assume you're not gonna change you can't change the state travel way. And
So
so,
the right of way that's
So,
is 50 feet.
yeah,
The roadway itself, the paved portion of the road is 10.5 feet on each
on either
direction.
side, yes.
So there is something like 13 feet
Yeah.
of right of way beyond the,
I'm just talking about the cost of filling in a wetland. And making it, and the permitting, and it's a state road. Those questions, how much that will cost to expand that?
it doesn't look based on your.
I don't
plan,
think
that's-
we're encroaching on the wetland.
Yeah.
That's
all
all.
Yeah, but it doesn't look like they're not putting the spaces here. This is the wetland. This is where that swamp area is right here. So they're.
Well, that's all wetland in there. Right,
No, I don't think, no, that's where that's where all the current cars park, and then they skip this, and then they park along here, and this is where the island.
There's also a question on the chat, what is the cost of this?
Where's
project?
the one sign?
It's approximately,
Here?
yeah, no, it's approximately right here, probably right at the end of that.
and this is,
Parking
this,
space.
This is wetland right here.
This is,
before the-
yeah,
before the-
this, all this right here is all really wet. Yeah, which one?
But
And
where's the driveway?
It's relevant also,
The
Greg,
driveway's much farther up.
that 70% of
Oh, I see.
Taylor Watt's
Right.
property is wetland as well.
yeah,
I've walked it, so weird.
Yeah, you're right. No.
Has anybody discussed or considered a discussion with the
This is-
IIT? And maybe Taylor would give a portion of it to the IIT and maybe the IIT would be like to make a park out of it. Maybe they might be easier to work with than just their owners.
Possible.
Well, at least you've had more recent conversations with him. My initial conversations with Taylor was recognized that he was hoping that this would be a sale rather than a donation of recognizing it as a, significant asset of his.
I would assume you'd have to be this engineered, correct?
This drawing was done by the town engineer.
And they told how much fill, all that kind of stuff?
Yes, they have said that they will need to do a survey
Yeah.
to verify this. But the assumption is, Bill, that since it's the entire development of this is within the right of way, that, it is not requiring any
Encroachment.
on anything else.
I just wanna make sure I'm clear on this. Is the right of way the town or the state?
And so these plans also are being reviewed by Department of Transportation and in fact have been tweaked a little bit based on feedback and questions from them.
Have they approved it?
Not
Guys.
We love that guy.
What they have approved, Holly, is they have agreed that the town can administer this. So the layout of the parking and the adjustment to the center line of the road, there may be other issues, although we had, as you know, the director of ferries out here a week ago, and he turned it over to the DOT engineers, and this plan reflects the comments that they gave us. So they may have other comments, but we don't know about them.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I understood. So we're not putting a lane 3 in what's in front of the terminal right now.
Right.
Okay, and lane 3 overflow is continuing along the parked cars
Yeah.
on the guardrail. Okay,
I was mainly,
Yeah, and then up the hill to the, yeah.
it was,
I just wanna make sure because
Absolutely.
it's a logistical
I understand.
nightmare trying to get vehicles on the ferry in 15 minutes
Yeah.
or 10 minutes and we
I
need that space.
And I heard that loud and clear.
Okay,
This proposal originated from comments that the parking committee made, that they were concerned about the conflict at the existing guardrail,
okay.
and I came up with this alternative. It's dead on arrival.
Okay.
Well, that, along the guardrail, that used to be line 3,
Yeah.
right? That was the line
It
3.
it was until the stripe was put in the wrong place,
Which created all those spots.
which
Well, that,
makes people think that it's a parking lane and it's not.
Yeah.
That's supposed to be the center line of the road.
and,
Oh.
you know, my sense about this was how do we create more parking?
Yeah.
How do we remove parking?
And nothing changes what is current as far as like the park, what would the current parking ordinance change? This is an addendum to it, right?
This is a completely separate ordinance.
Okay.
That ordinance stays in effect. This is a new ordinance.
24-hour parking in the center, and that's all stays the same.
Correct.
I'm sorry, Carrie, was there a question?
Yeah, somebody asked, what is the cost
Oh, yeah.
of this project?
Well,
Hmm.
I think at worst, what you're looking at right now is about $100,000 is paving and striping what's now the shoulder of the right of way and putting in the guardrail, which we had proposed as steel. It could be wood, which would be a lot cheaper. If we were doing this paving in concert with other paving going on in the island, it could be, the cost could come down considerably.
But the state won't pay for the paving, because it's,
You know, I think the state's point of view about this, aside from their tweaking the plan, is
yeah.
they'd like to get this off their plate.
Was there, and I hate to switch, was there ever any consideration, and trust me, I love the park at the ferry dock. It's beautiful, the lawn. Has there been any consideration about going one road deeper for parking spaces and going into the lawn that's between the ferry building, the ticket office and the lighthouse museum?
I was given to understand that was sacred.
Sacred?
Sacred?
Yeah, I think that's probably true.
I mean, it's beautiful. Don't get me wrong.
Parking lot.
I
I
would,
think that was my exact phrase when you.
and
I'm like, I was the naysayer on that one of,
Well, and I think if we could say, we only need 28 spots, how do we get 28 spots? But I think the problem is whatever we create feels like it's not going to be enough, and so
Yeah.
destroying that area for the community, and not truly fixing the problem feels like just a loss.
I'd love to, I mean, I think it's a great short-term plan. I'd love to see us continue to chase Troy and Watts and get that property and turn it into a park with parking. I think additional parking, it would be beautiful. And it would be a much nicer entrance to this island.
Sure
And
would.
you'd have a place to, if you needed a house, you can put a dwelling unit there.
Yeah, you could do, I mean, it could be a commercial piece.
Yeah.
Potentially, the ordinances are not that bad. I've read them all. There's 14, there's really, the really sticky one is it's private residence, one dwelling.
Holly,
So I wanna say one thing, nobody has said anything about sea level rise.
Mhm.
Because I was at the terminal when the water was coming and into the parking lot, and we did have a couple of cars that were damaged. So I think that the area around the lawn, besides being sacred, is not a really good option because the water was coming up there.
Yeah.
So you're putting people that are using long-term parking at risk as well by parking there. I did not see the water coming up here, except maybe at the marsh area.
At the marsh,
But then it had a way to leave.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when it's all said and
It's
done,
high, yeah, the wetland is high, and it's not a whole lot of it, but it's high. Of the-
yeah, I don't
Was
think
it
we
four
should be
and a quarter
looking at
acres, I think,
parking
here?
at the terminal.
It's 4.25
This seems to be
acres.
better.
4.4, yeah.
4.4 acres, and I think an acre of it is dry,
Yeah,
most of it is.
and it would be safer.
But,
Yeah.
you know, if we're talking about long-term solutions, I, as an individual and a member of the Sea Level Rise Committee, projection is in the next, 15 to 20 years, probably the ferry terminal and landing is not maintainable. And in 2023, as you all know, the waves were crashing over Route 1 and into the storefronts in Lincolnville, and the entire parking lot over there was inaccessible and not usable. So you know, when you're talking long-term here, where this is a very immediate solution to a problem without enough capacity, but I can't imagine that that's gonna be durable for my grandchildren's
Like
life.
maybe if we own the Watts property, that will be the new ferry terminal.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, could we put an yard in,
Right.
right?
That's
Right,
great.
with the-
Um,
with the,
Brian, go ahead online. I see you have your hand raised.
Hi there. How many spots is this ordinance creating, parking spots? Compared to what we have now, how many new spots are being created?
28.
There are 28, there's.
Well, I
Something.
I can see there's 28 on the plan, but compared to how many people already work down there, like how many are any new spots being created?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's
How many?
more, it's, since the Wild West there, you have to assume, but currently there's something like 13 to 15 spots, and we're increasing that to 28.
Okay. All
And
right.
that's primarily because you're angling them in.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I have several questions about the nitty-gritty of it, but those can wait until more details have been hashed out because they don't matter right now. So we're creating potentially 15 new spaces, charging X fee for it. I'd heard the term $400 a season bandied about, so I'm just going to use that as a stepping off point. 28 spots at $400 a season is just over $11,000. You're talking about a 10-year payback period to create 10 new spaces. I'm not saying I'm against it, but it's my job to count the beans.
And
$20,000.
a good bean counter you are, Brian.
$20,000.
Well, and it's not, the arithmetic isn't, I don't quite go along with. We're also charging the same fee for the 13 spaces along the guardrail. So the net revenue from this is more like 42 times 400. So
Okay.
it's, and you know,
It seems to me that we're imposing a fee to get people to now fight over the spaces, to pay for the privilege of fighting over the spaces that they currently fight over for free.
well said. I guess you could put it that way. I think it is egregious that the people are parking there for free, and look, who can't afford it or shouldn't be charged for it is still to be worked out, but I think the majority of people who are parking there are getting a free ride.
I'm not against increasing revenue at all. I'm against increasing revenue for the sake of increasing revenue because I think that's the wrong direction to go in.
Go ahead, Pete.
So I'm just curious if Watt sells this property and we do not do this, we stand to lose access to any of that parking space. Is that correct? Or people will continue to just do what they want and they can run their own risk?
What do you mean?
Like the way it is right now, right? We sort of are living, Watts owns the property.
Right.
Sort of like lets us do this thing that's going on down there, right? Lets it happen.
No, because what's
right-
happening,
right away is-
most of what is happening now is on the state line, not on.
So regardless of what happens to this Watts property, that parking system can stay there.
Yeah.
Yeah, if Watt sells this property to me, I can't contest it.
To the degree that right now, people are expanding that in a way that is not, that is encroaching on that
So
property.
we've got to get a grip on this one way or the other.
Yes.
When he
And
did
this
the
is
tree
like
work,
pretty
that's
way.
when the problems really started, because he
Yeah.
cleaned out that whole knoll and people were driving up onto it and that wasn't good. Yeah.
But this plan respects. I mean, you could
Setback.
say, I don't like to have a lot of contractors trucks parked in my front yard, but
To this.
he doesn't own that property.
Right.
There is no, with this plan, there is no place for those wheelers either, though. I mean, a lot of times you'll see them parked alongside, but Jimmy Nelson has some of his trucks parked there. There'd be no way to park a trailer or thing, anything big.
These are just car spots, right?
Yeah.
Then maybe, you may wanna make some consideration for if a couple of, I don't know,
Right.
I don't know. And the other thing too, Peter, is now that I've got my coordinates here on this chart. Are you not considering on this map, are you not considering any parking spaces where the educational excellence sign is? So you're not going beyond the marshland?
I assumed you can, again, educate me, that at some point. It is so unattractive to walk onto the ferry and have to walk 3/4 of a mile to get your truck. That you're gonna not wanna do that.
Yeah, all I can say is they do it every day today.
I know,
They're parked
I
all
know.
around that sign.
Right.
Right? And you,
And-
Smart the
and
educational
we-
excellence.
that's right over here.
We haven't,
Yeah.
there is no reason. As long as you're not encroaching on the wetland there, that we couldn't extend this plan to include that, and I'm sure the state would not mind that either.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Bill.
Thanks, Bill.
But, you know. I just. I think we could. As part of this plan, put a guardrail up. At the edge of the pavement or stones as Stephen Phillips had the town do on the other side of the road. That would eliminate the possibility of doing that.
Oh, yeah, the big rocks that they put there,
Yeah.
yeah. That did stop people from doing that. That's
Right.
on the right side of the road when you're driving, approaching the ferry.
And I think that if we go to a wood rail as opposed to the steel rail. It probably can cut 25 or 30% off this
And they're attractive.
estimate.
Wood rails are attractive too, if they're done
Yeah.
right. I think they look better than the steel ones.
Right,
They break. Your trucks did them, but.
They rot and they break.
Yeah. I, first up here, I think this is a great plan. It's gonna help. It's not gonna solve, but it's gonna help. Let's use the space. I mean, it's there. The state gives us green light. I just like to see it cleaned up.
I would be happy, Virginia, to meet with Tower and IIT and see if we can work out a better deal. I think, I don't know if you know him, but he's a lovely guy.
Oh, Taylor, I've known him forever.
He's a wonderful guy, but his goal is very clear. He just wants to get paid to get
What do you
out.
mean with that? Yeah. Well, if we could make it taxably attractive to him. And maybe we can do half and half, or, I mean, who knows? We've got to get the IIT on board first. So I can talk to Chris if we get permission. Thank you.
I mean, to the degree that I can give anybody. You got it.
Thank you. I mean, I think it is going to take a community to make this happen. So thank you for your willingness to help have conversations about it.
No, it's a desperate situation in a way. If somebody's gonna get hurt,
Eventually, yeah.
it's gonna be somebody's little child coming out from behind.
Could be an older gentleman
Could be.
with the last
here,
name
could be me.
DeGrasse.
I was gonna say, Virginia, it's more likely gonna be me or you that's gonna accidentally get tagged by somebody that's pulling out of one of those spots.
Yeah.
And the way that it is right now.
My father walking down there every day.
Yeah.
Every day,
Yeah.
every day. He goes at lunchtime when the ferry
But
closes.
this is an investigation.
Walks down.
Yeah, so I want to recognize Tamala's comment in support of purchasing the property. But also, and then Josh Leach asked a question about plowing, which is not something that we had talked about explicitly. Yeah, I would assume it would be the town. I think, we should talk with the, but we should also, as it would be, I think, courteous to talk with Babe to just see what questions, comments, concerns he might have with this.
Cause could we might have to work that into, if we do a ordinance about that, since it's gonna technically be long-term parking. Of either they're gonna waive their rights to do it, or whenever the parking bans go in for snow plowing down there, then they're under the same umbrella. It's one of those half dozen of one, half dozen of another.
Yeah, I would be cautious about using the term long-term. And it's because you could end up with somebody that just parks it and leaves it. And in the wintertime, that's no good.
Yeah.
So it's,
Oh,
but do we tow? I haven't really seen any towing.
no, I guess we got.
We don't tow.
Nice idea, wasn't it?
Right. I
It's
just,
written in the ordinances that we have the ability to.
Holly, do you have a sense of? The parking that currently does not necessarily have a time limit on it. Is there a major problem with vehicles kind of just staying?
Right now, I would not say that there's a problem. During the summertime there is.
Oh,
Just because you have to keep in mind that everything expands in the summertime. You've got people, like you said, going over to Warren Island. Also, I think we have to keep in mind that this is something that has kind of exploded after the island opened after COVID, because a lot of people had purchased properties and now they're developing them. So we're getting a lot of contractors. For example, this week we had 68-foot trucks coming over on the ferry, and the ferry is only 144 feet long. So you have two of those on the ferry and no other center line is gonna get on, no dump trucks. So in the summertime, that becomes really critical. And quite often what happens is they're parking the vehicles because they can't get them on the ferry. So they usually park them against the rail because they're longer than a 20-foot parking space. Getting out is not too much of a problem because you don't have vehicles sitting in lane 3 for much longer than maybe at the most 45 minutes.
Right. Would it make sense to park, to save the parking spaces along the rail for those enormous vehicles, or do we not have enough?
Well, somebody would have to be tasked with enforcing that if you do it.
I think.
And that's the big problem right now. We don't have anybody. There are spaces to be found, but nobody enforces parking. So we've got pickup trucks taking 2 spaces because they're parking in the middle of the spaces rather than parking in 1 space. Plus, vehicles are now larger than they used to be, so quite often you've got pickup trucks that are 22, 23 feet long. Again, with a parking space that's only 20 feet long. So there are all kinds of things that need to be looked at, the logistics, I think. This looks like a simple fix, but are you gonna have 22-foot vehicles in these parallel spaces? They're gonna be encroaching on the drive lane. That's my only concern.
and if you put in a guardrail, that's gonna make it even more difficult because, and I love the guardrail idea, but if you put a guardrail in, there's no cheating and hanging the front end of the truck, into the bushes, cause
Yeah,
right now they cheat like
exactly.
crazy.
So, I mean, that's something else that you have to look at. I mean, a 20-foot space is great for the average car. But quite often right now, if you've got a pickup truck with a hitch on the back of it, you're looking at 23.
Yeah, it may be that you have to look at some oversized spots where you can accommodate their oversized and you
Yeah,
market them as
I
oversized.
don't think we've actually used up the entirety of the.
Yeah, just keep that in mind. It's just, I don't think people realize how big it is. And, think about having somebody besides Fred, because Fred's really busy. Task somebody with keeping track of this. You're gonna need somebody to do that. Those are my thoughts.
Thank you.
Did I answer your question?
Yes, yeah, that's very helpful. Mhm.
Can you read it?
Is the answer to this, you all are gonna charge for parking? That's what this is all about.
Yeah. You have to charge for it.
So there is also a question about why we're spending money on a short-term remedy when we could be spending a little more money, for a longer-term problem. Do you wanna speak to that?
It's a lot more money. Is, and, you know, part of this is just a matter of getting ourselves into a better negotiating position for the longer term solution. And in the meantime, this seems like it's a more expeditious fix than trying to work out a complicated arrangement with the property owner. In the meantime, we have, while all the problems you're pointing out only exist. And Fred has been, I think, pretty accommodating and positive about administering this plan. Now, whether or not he can actually do that, I know I got $125 ticket for parking in the, and I threw myself at the mercy of Tina, who's
And the white
reduced
spaces in the middle.
But, you know, there are tickets that are being given out for people who abuse the regulation.
I can attest to that. I process those tickets.
No, it's not. You get one of those and you're like, okay,
Do that for a
I'm
while.
gonna park there.
Awesome. Are there any other comments, questions, ideas for consideration as we go through the process to finalize this and
So next steps for you guys are to get firm numbers on costs. To go forward, that's. And then we'll be there.
The ordinance is really what is being determined. And, you know, based on what I think has been said today, there are logistical questions, there are the length of the spaces and how it's administered, but the ordinance as it stands, it sounds to me is acceptable.
Thank you very much for making this an open meeting because it's been very informative.
well, we'll definitely be discussing it at future select board meetings, so, please, we appreciate, I mean, it is really helpful to have feedback and to have just an open conversation kind of before we have a like, here is what we want to do. So I think it will create a stronger plan in the long term, and I appreciate everybody coming and providing your feedback.
And I'm available anytime to anybody.
My last comment would be, don't give up on the Watts property, keep working. And I would not worry about the 14 covenants because majority of them will be easily adopted by the butters.
Great.
I think they would appreciate it.
Great.
I have a question, Peter. Why did we decide to do it as a seasonal pass sell as opposed to a annual one?
Well, our chairperson here raised the question of how we would dissuade people from just parking there forever.
We had an issue where there was a vehicle that had a tree on a storm, and it was there for a significant amount of time, and I just wanted to make sure that
That didn't happen again. Cool. Nope, that was my only question about it, because I was hearing the number 400. And in my very slim wallet, I was like, "Eee!" And then I was like, but if it was a year-long pass for $400,
Well,
could I justify it? So that was where my
the
brain went.
way that was pulled out of the sky, but the
Yeah, no.
Lincolnville situation is only during the high
Right.
season, and the rest of the time their park is free.
Right.
and
No,
the
that
same
makes
thing
sense.
is true for other parking places.
That, and I think I do like that too, because it does provide a little bit of reprieve. for year-round islanders. That, you know, you don't have to have the pass and you do have an option to park and stuff like that. It might not be all the time, but you do have that. So, no. I'm in support of it. I was just curious, the thought behind it.
What's the placard cost now? I know I bought one and I can't remember. I thought it was much cheaper here than in, Lincolnville, like much
There's
cheaper.
there's several different tiers. I think for just a resident, it's something egregious like $5.
It was-
It might be, it might be 20
I
now.
think it was $25. That's what I'm thinking for the white one that you,
Or-
white spaces.
Right, for non-residents, it is more expensive and it's also, I think you can get up to 2 commercial passes and the second one is, you know, 100 plus. And I think, but I don't have that language. Oh, it looks like, you didn't pull it up. I was like, oh, was that language there? I would have to look to see, but there are, it ranges anywhere between $25 and 100 plus.
So you're gonna look at the entire fee structure once this ordinance wording gets approved and that'll be exhibit B.
Yeah, I mean, I think we need to consider if it's how this fits within the existing fee structure, basically. And if we change, if we ask the parking committee to revisit that, or if this is a kind of additional permit, I think those are the questions for, just as far as helping to administer it. That's the fine, right?
Oh, those are the fines.
Yeah, if you
No,
don't
we
pay
just-
within 7 days.
I've been on the select board since
350.
2020. And I wanna say it was in 2022. Gabe's last year on the select board is the first time in a very long time that we upped the rates and we doubled them, because it was only $10 for the little white placard.
Yeah.
And we'd ask the question, did that even pay to have the placards done?
No.
And it was like, yeah, we broke even on it, but there wasn't any other room, and so that's why it went up and doubled. And so, but it was still a very reasonable, attainable
Yeah,
parking
no.
pass.
It's good if you're not a resident, for sure.
Yes. And that it's meant for them, for us. Everyone, I'm done talking.
Any other comments? All right, then let's adjourn this public hearing. Thank you, everybody, for attending.
Thanks for having it.
Holly and Shay, I have a question that's not related to this.